Everybody, and good morning. We're here for my research methods class that is online. I see a bunch of you in here with me. It's nice to be on here with all of you. I know that we skipped last week because I was really, really sick, and then the week before was obviously spring break. So I'm sorry for the interruption last week. I was just absolutely out of commission sick. So let me back up just a little bit here since I haven't talked to all of you in like 2 weeks. So I hope you all had a wonderful spring break. It feels like a really long time ago as of this point, but I hope you all had a great spring break. My cruise was amazing. If you were curious, I gained a very solid and respectable 5 pounds on the cruise. I ate quite a bit, and I have a picture for you. I've been sharing this one picture. I was on the cruise ship for maybe 10 minutes, 5, 10 minutes at the most. And the first thing that we did was hit the buffet. And I found right off the bat, I found the cake. So, see, I wore my mask. I wore my mask the entire time I was on the cruise ship, and I still managed to be the only one in our group of 7 to get sick, which doesn't seem fair. But I found the cake line and the cake buffet very, very quickly, and became very good friends with that area of the ship. There was soft serve ice cream everywhere, and everything was just amazing. It was so much fun. And then on the last day of the cruise, I just got really sick. And when I came home, I took some cough medicine, just like Delcium over the counter cough medicine to help deal with the cough that I was having. And I had like a violent reaction to it. It interacted with another medication that I'm on, and landed me in the hospital last week, like early in the morning on Wednesday. And my blood pressure was incredibly high. I was at risk of like a seizure. Yeah, it nearly wiped me out. I was nearly wiped out by cough medicine. So, on top of like a cold and a sinus infection, I had like a very dangerous drug interaction. And it made me violently ill. So I'm really sorry that we missed our stream last week. I was literally in the hospital at our normal day and time. So I'm sorry that I couldn't keep with that routine that we normally have. But we're back to it this week. I'm still obviously not 100%, but I'm well enough to keep going. So I'm sorry again for the interruption. Again, I hope you all had a wonderful break. And I hope that you're all hanging in there. We have a little bit longer weekend this weekend because of Easter. So if you celebrate Easter, happy Easter. And otherwise, yeah, at least I got to eat cake, right? I was just grateful that I didn't get sick until the cruise was over. I would have been so disappointed if I wasn't able to eat cake. They had one day on the cruise that it was their chocolate extravaganza, and they literally had like 9 different chocolate cakes. And I just felt like I was in, and I died and gone to heaven on that day. It was amazing. But otherwise, again, it was a lot of fun. And back to it now, even though I'm still, again, not 100%. So anyway, my plan for today, I just want to talk a little bit about feedback from last week. So just a little bit about that APA Part 2, the exam number 2, or I'm sorry, exam number 3 that we had last week. And then I'll give you some reminders for this week. We have kind of a different week. This week, we're looking at a big project that we'll have at the very end of the semester, starting to kind of build up to that a little bit. So we'll go over that, and I'll give you the extra credit question, and then we'll call it a day. So hopefully kind of getting back on track. So let's go ahead and go over to Canvas together. One more time. I missed that cake. I'll let it go now. But let's go to Canvas and take a look at what we have going on. Last week, week number 12, if we go back just for a moment. Last week we were looking at APA formatting part 2, and we do have one more APA lecture that we'll have in a little bit. But for your discussion last week, you were in charge of kind of creating a title page, and then also looking at some exercises and on this cool little APA style website. And a lot of you were very honest, which I appreciate, saying that you struggled a little bit. APA formatting is difficult. right? We'll just be really honest here. It's a challenge. Even if you learn it inside and out, they will change it on you and it will become difficult again. So don't feel bad if you're struggling a little bit with general formatting stuff. The biggest thing is that you just know where to go for resources. And having good resources that you can kind of reference is really the key with any kind of APA formatting stuff. So most of you did a great job kind of commenting on the website and some of the things you struggled with. And a lot of you had a beautiful title page, did an absolutely wonderful job. Everything looked great. I enjoyed some of your creative titles that you came up with. But the biggest two areas that I saw people struggle on the title page. The first one was not remembering to put a page number in the upper right hand corner. So in the upper right hand corner, there should be a page number and nothing else. So no last name, no running head, no anything like that. Just a single page number in that upper right hand corner. Some of you did add a running head on the upper left hand side. Now the running head was eliminated in the APA style 7th edition, unless you're writing like a large publication paper, which is not the case for us. So those were the two big things that I saw, and sometimes some little spacing things. So remember, there were some really helpful resources up in here. There's a little APA title page guide and then a sample. And so if you look at this sample just really quickly, and it's just an image, remember that this is what your cover page or title page should look like. So here is that page number up in the right hand corner. Nothing else up here. No running head, no last name, nothing. The spacing and everything else should look like this. Your title should be in bold, and then a couple of spaces here, and then all of your information. And again, a lot of you did a beautiful job on this, with the biggest thing being messed up being the page number either forgotten or extra information, people adding a running head, or spacing being a little weird. Some of you had this way down here at the bottom or like way up at the top. It should look like this. So again, for the most part, really wonderfully done. Almost all of you replied to a classmate and got those 2 points. So I feel like at this point, most of you are feeling very comfortable with the discussions. You know what to expect, which is great since we are in week 13 and nearing the end of the semester. The other thing last week, of course, we had exam number 3, and really well done. So I wrote this down. The average amount of time on the exam was 36 minutes. So plenty of time. A lot of you finishing with just an incredible amount of time to spare. The high score was 100%. The low score was a 54%. And the average was just over a 91%. So a lot of A's, a lot of B's, most of you doing really, really well on the test. Several people getting 100%. So that makes me very, very happy to see. We do have one more exam that's coming up as our final. And so as always, I'd like to encourage you to continue using the exams as a learning experience. So if you aren't doing as well as you would like, remember to really utilize the study guide. Start studying early, maybe spread it out a little bit. But a lot of you should be very happy with your scores. And if that's the case, keep it up. There's only one more exam to go. So that was last week, and then we move forward this week. We are in week number 13. And week number 13, as I said, we kind of have a slightly different focus. As part of your kind of final week of this class, you'll be doing a final exam and an experiment proposal project. Now, in order to get you thinking about it early so that you don't save it for the very end of the class, we are focusing on that as our content for this week. So instead of reading a chapter in the book, your reading is the instructions for the experimental proposal project. So kind of a short reading this week. Your discussion is also focused on that. Everything is revolving around that project just to get you thinking about it. Now, you're welcome to change your mind as we progress through the rest of the semester, but the more work that you do and the more thought you give it now, the easier your life will be when we get to that last week and you're actually turning this in. So make sure that you read through this experimental proposal project instructions, and we can open that up here together. Instead of writing a full APA style research paper, or conducting a full research project, what you're doing is kind of a hybrid of the two. So you are giving me what will be known as an experiment proposal. So if you were to conduct an experiment, how would you set it up? What would you do? All of that kind of information. And that paper that you'll write for me will be in APA style formatting. So let me read this to you here and make sure you look it over more later. The purpose of the project that you'll complete that last week will be to give you an opportunity to apply the research principles that you've learned over the course of the semester. For this assignment, you will design and write up a brief proposal for an original experiment in APA formatting, along with creating a digital visual aid that will be presented to the class through a brief recording that you'll submit online. So this is an original experiment. I want you to come up with something unique and something that interests you, an experiment that you will design and then write about in APA style formatting. Everything will be submitted here through our Canvas instruction link. A couple of things, and this is all for the final paper. Your final paper will be about 5 to 7 pages, including the title page and abstract page. It'll have standard APA style margins, type, double space, any kind of APA recommended font. And for that final paper, these are all the things you'll be doing. And so again, what I want you to do is be looking through this right now and starting to think about it a little bit ahead of time. And the write-up in paper that you'll do will be worth 45 points. And then you'll also have 15 more points for a digital flyer that you'll create to represent your experiment. And then a short 2-minute or less video that you'll upload kind of describing and presenting this to the class. Now the final paper and the final project is due the last week before our class ends. And here's the rubric. But I just want you to be starting the process of thinking about what you want to do and starting the process of formulating those thoughts. And so in order to help you with that, you're reading the instructions, but your discussion this week is also going to be directly related to that as well. So if we look at discussion number 13 for this week, worth 15 points like always, 13 points for your responses to my questions, and then 2 for your responses to a peer. So for this week, you'll be starting to think about that project. And in an effort to help you get started, these are the questions that I want you to answer. And again, you are welcome to change your mind later. You can put more than one idea here and narrow it down as you get toward the end of the semester. But again, the more thought and work you do at this point, the easier your life will be at the end of the semester. So number 1, I want you to share the topic or topics that you're considering for your experiment proposal project. Give this some serious thought. Try and narrow down your ideas as much as possible so that your work helps you make some progress toward that final paper. Now, your topic does not need to be related to psychology. It can be related to literally anything that interests you, anything that you would like. Of course, it can be psychological, but it doesn't have to be. Number 2, describe your independent and dependent variables. Be sure to include how you will operationalize them and any levels or conditions that they might have. Again, this is welcome to change, but let's say that you're really interested in studying the effects of, I'm trying to think of something random off the top of my head, the effects of sleep deprivation on exam scores, right? And so if that's the topic that you really want to study, your independent variable would be sleep deprivation. And maybe your conditions would be somebody who gets a full night of sleep, gets a partial night of sleep, and gets no sleep, right? And so how are you operationalizing partial night and full night and no sleep? How will you be measuring the dependent variable, which in that case would be exam scores? Kind of really starting to pick that apart and get some details. Number 3, how will you acquire your sample for your experiment? Right, so if you are going to be conducting this, what sample will you get? How will you get them? What are some of your potential issues? I see there's a couple questions. I'll get there in just a second here. And then number 4, what are some of the potential threats to internal validity that you might have as part of your experiment? And how might you possibly address those threats? So again, with this, you're going to be adding to this for the final paper, but if you can really start getting your thoughts out on this, it's going to really drastically help you when you actually go to submit the formal paper at the end of the semester. Okay, so we had a couple of questions here. Can the project be done with a partner or is it individual? Yeah, so it's an individual project. So you're not actually conducting research. You're just writing about a proposal. If you were to consider doing a research experiment, what would it be? And so I do want this to be something that you do on your own. And that way you have the ability to kind of critique all this and write it up and so on. So definitely do this as an individual project. The second one, do you have an example of the second part with the digital design? Yes. So when we get closer to that last week, I do have some examples of papers that people have written, and I do have some examples of the digital aids, the little flyers. It's just a one-page, like, colorful flyer. It could be advertising your research or just summarizing it, but I will definitely give you some examples of that as we get closer to the end of the semester. Are there any other questions for now about the research, this proposal project, or the discussion? Again, we're just introducing it now, and then when we get to kind of closer to those last weeks, I'll go over the instructions again, and I'll see if there are any questions again at that point. For now, what I want you to do is just start coming up with a topic, and then starting to dissect it and come up with the components and how you would sample it and what the threats to internal validity and all that kind of stuff would be. So you're really trying to use all of the knowledge that you've gained this semester to come up with this topic. All right, if you think of any other questions, of course, put them in here. Do you care about the external validity of the topic? You will be thinking about that in the paper, but I'm not having you think about it quite yet in terms of the discussion. So number 3, when you're thinking about your sample and sampling methods, that would be getting at external validity. So you're welcome to put down any thoughts you might have there yet, but you don't need to worry about it until the final paper as far as writing it up. Yeah, you can choose any random fun topic that you would like. It could be anything. Again, it can be related to psychology. It can be related to anything that you would like to study. So make it something fun and interesting. I think that'll make it better and more fun to write about if you actually are interested in the topic. Okay. So for the discussion, of course, make sure you hit reply and answer my questions fully. Make sure you are giving me lots of details and showing me that you're thinking about this. And then don't forget to also reply to a classmate. So let's say I really like Nicole's topics, how colors could improve learning. That's fun. So you could totally reply to Nicole and comment on that. Make sure that you're doing both to get those full points for the discussion this week. The other thing that you do have this week, you've done 2 of these so far, but you have 1 more self-assessment that you're completing for this week. So remember, you've done a couple of these. This is my way of just kind of checking in with you and your progress in the class, what you are struggling with and doing well with. This is worth 5 points, so make sure that you complete this before Sunday night. But if you click on assessment number 3, when you are ready, you will hit Start Assessment. Let me go into Student View so I can show you that. So when you're ready, you'll hit Take the Survey. There's no time limit, so take your time. Answer this honestly. Please be honest. It doesn't benefit you or me anyway if you tell me what you think I want to hear. So just think about, at this point, we're 3/4 of the way through the class. You've completed 12 weeks. I want you to just be thinking about your progress and your grades and your approach to the class. So if you hit Take the Survey, question number 1, really easy. I am currently earning the grade I want in this class, true or false? And then question 2, if you responded false, what's something that you could do to maybe improve your performance? If you responded true, how are you going to maintain that as we approach the end of the course? And this one's a short answer question. How many of the optional Twitch extra credit opportunities have you completed, attended, and submitted extra credit for? And you'll select the option that fits the best. And then I'm curious, what factors have influenced your attendance and participation in the Twitch live streams, right? So if the timing didn't work for you, write that. If Twitch was confusing to you, write that, right? Whatever it is that may have influenced your participation there, make sure to give me that information. And then finally, number 5, if you were to start over in this class, what is one thing, if any, that you might do differently in order to be more successful? So make sure that you are answering all these honestly. When you're done, you can hit submit quiz and you'll get those 5 points. Make sure you do that this week. You want to obviously get those points for just kind of reflecting on your performance. And then finally, you of course also have the Twitch extra credit question, which I'll give you in a moment. But are there any questions for me at this point? Any questions about the experiment proposal project, the discussion, the anything for this week? I do have a couple of reminders for you, but just to make sure first. Okay. So while I'm waiting for you to see if you have any questions, let me put some reminders here in the chat. The first one, a lot of you, so many of you have fallen off on your Twitch subscription status. And I know we didn't have a meeting last week and the week before was spring break. So some of that might be on me for not reminding you. But if you could just take a moment, as I said, a lot of you have fallen off. So Jacob, Samantha, those are just a couple of the ones I see in the chat. There are 50 of you in the class, and only about 7 or 8 of you are subscribed. So if you have a minute to go back and renew that, it makes my life so much easier. And with not feeling well, I appreciate anything that makes my life easier right now. So if you could take a moment to do that. Let me show you again one more time really quickly. Let me bring up Twitch here. So a couple of you asked me, I'm going to go to a random page. So on Twitch, let me go to, I'm going to go to a football page that I often watch during football season. I miss football. It's coming. Okay, but if you were on, pretend this is my page. Underneath this kind of main header, see how there's this purple bar right here? And so on this purple bar, you'll hit the down arrow, and that's going to bring up this option. And all the way down at the bottom, see how there's this button that says Use Prime Sub? If you click that, then you can resubscribe for free for a month with your Prime membership. And a lot of you did this initially, but it's expired. It's only good for 30 days. So if you could do that one more time, that should cover you through most of the rest of the semester. If you never linked your accounts, you can still go back all the way up at the top here. All the way right here are instructions on how to link your accounts and subscribe for free. So if you're able to figure that out, thank you. I really do appreciate it. It makes my life, just as I said, a lot easier. I don't have to go and cross-reference names. So thank you so much for those of you who keep doing that, and those of you who figure it out and renew it today. Finally, on here, let me remind you our next Twitch live stream will be on Thursday next week, Thursday, which is 4/21. At 10 o'clock a.m., just like this week. So next Thursday at 10 o'clock, Thursday 4/21 at 10 o'clock a.m. Okay, so make sure that you are hopefully here for that. That is our week number 14 live stream. I see that there's a question in here, which I'll get to in a moment. Let me give you the extra credit question, and then I can answer that for you once we're kind of wrapped up here. So the extra credit question for this week is, how many points is the experiment proposal project worth, and when is it due? Okay, so I'm going to post that here. How many points is the experimental proposal project worth, and when is it due? If you're ready to answer that, you go to week 13, because that's where we're at. Click on optional Twitch extra credit number 13. And then up here at the top, you can click on Start Assignment, which will open up a text box for you to type your response. And then you can go ahead and submit it when you're ready to get that little confetti burst, and then hopefully 2 points of extra credit and flowers in there too. So this is due by Sunday night at 11:59 p.m. But get those 2 points. There's only a few of these opportunities left, and every point will obviously be helpful for you. Okay, so those are kind of all of the things that I wanted to share with you for today. I see that I have a question about grad school, so I can talk about that in a moment here. But if you have any other questions, please feel free to put them in the chat. If you don't, I hope you all have a wonderful weekend. Have a great Easter if you celebrate. I plan to give myself a stomach ache eating Cadbury eggs this weekend, and And I love the little Hershey eggs as well. So I'm having plans of eating way too many of them this week. But I will hang out for a little bit if you have any other questions. Otherwise, I will see you next Thursday morning for our next live stream. Okay, so Cora, you asked, do you have any recommendations for grad school programs for psych or schools that have particularly interesting or robust psych programs? I have to choose between UCLA, UCSB, USC, Cal State Channel Islands by the end of the month, which is why I'm asking. So it kind of depends what you want to do for your grad school program. So, for example, Santa Barbara has a really great counseling psychology, like PhD program, which is really great. It falls in their School of Education, so it's more like education based. Cal State Channel Islands and CSUN both have kind of good clinical psychology and counseling psychology master's programs. USC and UCLA are very rigorous, very competitive programs, but they're amazing. So it really depends on what you want to do. All right, if you want to get a master's degree versus a PhD, if you want to go like a clinical psychology route where you're focusing more on research and academics and teaching, or if you want to go more the counseling psychology route to focus on becoming like a therapist. So I think that's the first thing to figure out. You know, what do you want to emphasize in? Do you want a counseling or clinical, a master's or PhD? And then once you know that, what I would do is look at those 4 schools, look up their programs and see what classes they require, see how competitive they are. PhD programs are very, very competitive. It can be very difficult to get into them. But obviously, you know, once you do, that's great. Okay, so you want to go for a PhD. You don't think you have the patience for clinical. Okay, so if you're looking for a counseling PhD, you know, so then what you would want to do is look at these. So if you want a PhD, I think that eliminates Cal State Channel Islands, and that puts you more at like UCSB, USC, and UCLA. So that's what I mean is if you know that you want a PhD in counseling psych, see if those schools even have that, and then see what classes they require. PhDs, as I said, are super competitive, so it's better to apply to more schools than less, just so that you keep your options open. You might also consider applying to 1 or 2 master's programs just as a backup. So if you don't get into any of the PhD programs, then you still have something that you can work toward as a backup option. So I hope that's helpful. I went to Humboldt State for a master's program, and it wasn't a competitive, rigorous school, but I didn't need it to be, right? I just wanted a master's degree, and the area mattered more to me than the rigor of the school. I almost went to UCSB for their PhD program. I interviewed. I was one of 480 something applicants. They interviewed 5 people, and I didn't get in. And I had a 4.0 GPA. My master's thesis advisor went to UCSB and had an inside connection, and I still didn't get in. So again, make sure you keep your options open and maybe apply to a variety of programs at a variety of schools. So I hope that helps. And you might even consider talking to somebody who went there, or maybe somebody who has gone to one of those schools to see if they have any information. Yeah, right. If you're going to continue to work full time and the area matters, you know, that was a big decision maker for me. I wanted to go to Humboldt because I love the area. I love the trees and the cold. And that mattered more to me than anything else. So those are all things that are worth, you know, definitely worth considering. All right. Yeah. Yeah, and that's great. Like, definitely, I'm just saying PhD programs are ridiculously competitive. So even if you have to do a master's and then a PhD separately, you know, just make sure you keep some of your options open. All right. Okay. So I'm going to minimize my video here, but if anyone else has any other questions, I am still here. You're welcome. Good luck. You know, that's exciting. So good luck. Keep me posted on where you get in and where you decide to go. I'll be curious to hear. And again, I'll hang out for a few more minutes if you have any questions. Otherwise, have a wonderful week, everybody, and I will hope to see you all next week. All right, everyone, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to close this up because it looks like most of you are gone or there weren't any questions. I will be posting a recording of this in a little bit once it's done downloading and uploading. Thank you again so much for joining me, and I will look forward to seeing you all next week.